ETM Hotep, Masheru Nafir, which means welcome and peace, and also good afternoon. This is your brother, Wujau Meneb Irimaat, or simply Wujau. And I hope I can be heard on the audio. I hope this turns out okay. Wanted to do this quick video. It's entitled Kemet as a Toponym, a brief lesson in toponymy. And just to give a little context of why I'm doing this video is that the reoccurring issue or claim or argument that the word Kemet, in reference to the ancient Egyptian kingdom that we affectionately call Kemet, that particular word Kemet is being argued and has been argued this way for quite a while, that the word Kemet means black people. And so there's been a lot of dialogue. There was a recent discussion last Saturday between the brother Asari Imhotep and the brother Netcher on this very issue. And this is not a new issue. This is an issue that has been long-standing in various different circles. And so it's been going on for quite some time. Now, between the different conversations and different posts on social media, primarily on Facebook, there's been a lot of things that's been said. And so to the reader or to the onlookers, it can become overwhelming and become confusing. So the purpose of me doing this video is to kind of give a summary of one of the issues involved with this particular topic. All right, so today's topic, or this afternoon's topic, and I'm going to try to be brief as possible because I would like to keep these videos as short as possible and digestible, as so as not to add to the confusion and kind of saturate everything. All right, so the title is Kemet as a Toponym, a brief lesson in toponymy. All right, and today's date is November 21st, 2018. All right, so and I hope I turn my cursor on. You all will be able to see my cursor. Now, one thing I want to point out is that we've done a video 2 years ago, and this is a screenshot of that particular video. It's on our channel here, the Seshu Ma'ani Medew Netcher channel. So if you were to go through the archives of this channel that you're watching this on, you'll see 2 years ago we did a Divine Words Wednesday, discussions on the meaning of Kemet and the use of adjectives. All right, so we've covered this 2 years ago in a brief. The video is 2 hours long, but we tried to be brief even then to kind of touch on the different subjects. And as you can see inside the screenshot, the frame that you're looking at, it's a quotation from Dr. Shekhar Diop's work, The Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality, page 7. Now I'm going to show a clearer shot of that here. So this is the page that we had started that presentation 2 years ago with. And the reason why is because this ongoing argument that the word Kemet as the designation for the ancient Egyptian kingdom means black, it was proposed or hypothesized or advanced or postulated by Dr. Shekhar Diop in this particular work and elsewhere. So I'll just read the quote. He says, "In fact, we know that the Egyptians called their country Kemet, which means black in their language. The interpretation according to which Kemet designates the black soil of Egypt rather than the black man, and by extension the black race of the country of blacks, stems from the gratuitous distortion by minds aware of what the exact interpretation of this word would imply." And of course, this is from page 7. Now, so Diop is put forth this particular stance, and so a lot of people have used this stance, and it has carried over into today. Now, there's some problems with that. Okay, but first, let me say this as well. Diop is a well-beloved ancestor, scholar, genius, scientist, and so on. He is actually, put it this way, if it wasn't for Dr. Diop, a lot of us today who do this kind of research and work would not be doing this kind of research and work. So he is definitely one of our venerated and esteemed scholars. All right. He's a genius. He's a modern day genius. That being said, Diop himself says this. This is a quotation from an interview with Dr. Diop. All right. The reference you can see at the bottom. So I'm just going to quote him. He says, "I would like to see, above all, a greater number of researchers, Afro-Americans, young Americans, even whites. Why not? Because it's the young who are the least prejudiced. As a consequence, they are the most capable of making triumph ideas which frighten the older generation. Also, I think that it would be necessary to put together a polyvalent scientific teams, capable of doing in-depth studies for sure, and that's what's important. It bothers me when someone takes me on my word without developing a means of verifying what I say. We must form a scientific spirit capable of seeing even the weaknesses of our own proofs, of seeing the unfinished side of our work and committing ourselves to completing it. You understand? Therefore, we should then have a work which could honestly stand criticism, because what we've done, we would have been placed on a scientific plane." All right, so it's clear that as esteemed as we view Dr. Diop and his genius, he himself has implored us, has set in motion and demanded of us by his statement that we verify everything, that we do not take him on his word. And so this is very also ingenious of him. Okay, so Diop, as well as our other venerated scholars, push this forward. And when we say we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, in terms of our scholarly ancestors, we are doing just that. Okay, and I say this and I show this because when it comes to Diop, we have a emotional connection and tie to Diop and also others. And so when we come and we talk about issues that Diop and other scholars may have pushed forward and advanced and hypothesized on, and if we give the appearance of correcting or saying that they made a mistake, then the emotional side of us will start to trigger other things and other feelings, and it'll cloud our judgment in the information. All right, so I want to start off by getting all of that out of the way, that Diop said himself that this is something that we should do. All right, so with that said, let's continue. So remember, Kemet as a toponym, a brief lesson in toponymy. So what are toponyms? Toponyms are any name derived from a place name. A place name, especially one derived from a topographical feature. The name of a place. The general name for any place or geographical entity. A toponymist is one who studies toponymy. And its historical origin or etymology is from the Greek word topos, which means place, and onym, which is name. All right. So it's pretty straightforward what toponyms are. Toponyms are place names. Now, toponyms are under the domain of geography and geographers because they deal with places. So what I'm showing here is just a general things that are of concern with geography and geographers. So the 5 themes of geography. Geography is more than memorizing names and places. Geographers organize space in much the same way that historians organize time. To help organize space, geographers are concerned with asking 3 important questions about things in the world. Where is it? Why is it there? And what are the consequences of its being there? These 5 themes of geography help to answer these questions. 1. Location. Where is it located? 2. Place. What is it like there? 3. Human and environmental interaction. What is the relationship between humans and their environment? 4. Movement. How and why are places connected with one another? And 5. Regions. How and why is one area similar to another? And we have to keep in mind that no one theme can be understood without the others. The themes are connected with one another, as are all components in our world. No part of our world can be understood in isolation. Okay, so this is the general, concern of geography and geographers, under which toponymy and toponyms fall under because it deals with places. All right, so then the question is, in regards to toponyms and toponymy or place names, how does this apply to the general African view and use of toponyms and place names? So for that, we go to the African Journal of History and Culture. All right. And to quote, toponyms fulfill the task of identifying localities, thereby distinguishing them from one another. More so, they serve as cartographic labels that can be used for orientation, navigation, recreation, and reference points. A place name imparts a certain character on a place. Thus, place names can also provide a glimpse of the lifestyle led by the people. For instance, geographical names can suggest that a people were settlers rather than ferocious raiders. In other words, place names could be used to judge the way of life associated with a people, whether they're sedentary or nomadic. One potent means by which they effectively encode and communicate cartographic and geographic information was by the use of toponyms, which are names of places and other geographical features. Thus, in vintage African societies, place names were not just chosen arbitrarily. They were carefully chosen to convey specific and useful meanings to the people. It continues, indigenous African place names have an enormous treasure of geographical information and knowledge inherent in them. In a typical traditional African society, place names are used to succinctly describe the geographical phenomena. Roden's account of the use of place names to identify various geographical conditions and features in Uganda typifies what is obtainable in a classic African society. As observed by Roden, and this is a quote, "A very prominent group of Ugandan place names are those which describe or imply the physical characteristics of an area. Relief, climate, soils, hydrology, flora, and fauna all feature in names throughout the country. Often, the description is in terms of the suitability of an area for human activity, the fertility of the soil, the presence of water, reliability of rainfall, suitability for a particular crop, a river or a swamp which endangers life, the occurrence of a tree or grass species of value for house building, tool making and handicrafts, and the presence of clay for pottery are all frequent examples. Other names suggest the type of land use, describing a prominent crop, the presence of grazing land, and so on." And again, this is from the Journal of African Journal of History and Culture. So, with that being said, we can see that toponyms are not arbitrarily chosen. people don't create these names just by, pulling names out of a hat randomly. They have a purpose and a function that is very intrinsic to the people. All right. So now, here are some examples in NyKemet, which, by the way, is the language of ancient Egypt. It's called NyKemet, and the writing system is called Sesh, Medew, Netcher. So here are some examples of what's called determinatives in Sesh, Medew, Netcher that are for toponyms. So these are toponymic determinatives. So on the left-hand side, you see the glyphs themselves, left column. The middle column is a Gardner code, strictly used for identification, so that people can look up the glyphs. And then we have a description of what the glyphs are. So the first one is a canal. The second one is a pool of water. The third is a road. The fourth is called a tongue of land, an area of land. The next one is an irrigation channel. The next is hills. The next one is a intersection, referred to as a town. And the last one is a toponym for water. You see 3 water ripples on top of each other. All right. So in other words, these are glyphs that are used at the end of words that are place names. And just real briefly, determinatives within the writing system are glyphs that come at the end of words that are not pronounced. They're only there for reading purposes or visual purposes to help the reader determine the meaning of the word. And this is why they're called determinatives. But they're also called classifiers, and also they're called semantimes. Semantimes is, you hear the word semantics, and semantics means meaning. So it helps aid with the meaning of the word. What is the intended meaning? So these are determinatives. These are the determinatives that deal with toponyms or place names. Okay, so here are some examples of actual places within Kemet that show these determinatives. So, and I won't read them all, just a few. We have the first one, which is the word happy. And this is a reference to the Nile River. Some people may know it as the Happy River or the Happy Itcheru, which is the Happy River. Today it's called the Nile. All right, notice that we have the water determinatives. All right, now this water determinative as a place name is a type of toponym. Remember, toponyms are place names. Place names that deal with water are called hydronyms. So these 3 water ripples would more specifically be the toponym or a hydronymic toponym. So this would be in reference to a body of water. Likewise for the second one, Mehet, which is the delta area or the marshes or the swamp. So again, reference to water. All right, so you see the hydronymic determinative here. And then the next one, Jedut. And we have Bast or Bubastis as it's called today, and so on. Like I said, I won't read them all. But as you can see, these determinatives, these last signs that are in all of these words, the first 2 are the water ripples, dealing with bodies of water or something dealing with water. And the next ones are the cross section, the intersection. All right, on all the rest of them. All of these are place names. Okay, so those are examples. Now, when it comes to Kemet, this is the way that Kemet is written, and most people are very familiar with this. We have a crocodile tail, an owl, a raised bread loaf, and we have the intersection, encircled intersection. The other form, and these are interchangeable, is the differences with the irrigation channel. So these are toponyms. And on the right hand side, we have 2 more toponyms that deal what's referred to as Desheret. We have the toponym of hills, we have the determinative of hills, and we have the determinative of an encircled intersection. Both of these words are the same, and both of these words are the same. Kemet and Desheret. All right. So now, remember, toponyms are place names. All right. So here is a satellite map of the Nile Valley. And so as we can see a contrast between Kemet, which is along the river, and you see this vegetative area in green here. And then beyond that, to the left and right, beyond that, you see a barren area. So if you notice, the toponymic determinative here, an encircled intersection, deals with Kemet, which would be this more fertile area along the Nile, accessible to water, because the Nile contains water itself. And then the barren part is hilly. You can see the hills. Well, this is an overhead, so it's kind of hard to see if they're hills or not. But if you're familiar with maps and overhead maps, you'll be able to tell the difference. These are mountainous areas, and from the mountains you get hills and so on and so forth until you come down. This is why it's referred to as the Nile Valley. Valley being the operative word, valley, because it's between hills. So this stretch of land along and close to the river is the more flat areas. And then the more you go to the west and the more that you travel to the east, you're going to start going into elevated areas, into hilly areas, into mountainous areas. All right. So this is the contrast between Kemet and Desheret. Notice we have the hill determinative describing some geographical features. Okay. Notice that we have the encircled intersection describing geographical features of water intersecting, changing. Okay. So here is a map showing the various different nomes. Now, people may be familiar with the 42 nomes of ancient Egypt, Kemet. And so this is a map of those 42 nomes, and they're numbered. And they may be small on the screen to see, but I'm showing this for the purpose of looking at these determinatives. So you see the encircled intersection determinative on all of these place names. So all of these are toponyms, place names. Okay, this is particularly Lower Kemet or Lower Egypt. And to keep moving the map down, we have all of these place names. Notice that we have the encircled intersection, Tamihu, Lower Egypt, and all of these various different cities. Okay. Keep moving down. Now we're in Upper Egypt. We have Tashmau. Look at these cities within this area, all with these determinatives. We have the tongue of land determinative. We have the encircled intersection determinative. What else? We have the water determinative here. All right. To keep moving down, now we're going even further south. We have Kash. Look at the, most people pronounce this as Kush. Kash or Kush. We have the hilly determinative. All right, Abu Simbel, hilly determinative. And if anybody's familiar with Abu Simbel, we know Abu Simbel is, there's tall mountainous hills in that area. And notice that we have the hill determinative. Buhin, we have an encircled intersection. All right. So the point of these maps is just to show that in ancient Egypt, in Kemet, there are place names, and these place names are reflected in the writing with the appropriate determinative indicating that it's a place name, which are toponyms. All right. So in terms of toponyms themselves, we're going to go back to toponyms. Toponymy is the study of toponyms, but all of this is under a broader scope called Onomastics. And Onomastics is the study of names of all sorts of names. You know, how things are labeled and named. Okay, so that's what Onomastics is. And so under onomastics, you have toponymy. Among other disciplines, toponymy is what our focus is. All right. So here we have toponyms. Toponyms are place names. Hydronyms are a type of toponym that deal with bodies of water. Oronyms are a type of toponym, but it deals with mountain ranges. Okay, remember, mountains are places and bodies of water are places. Therefore, they are toponyms, but they're more specifically hydro, meaning water, and an oro or oronym, mountainous or hilly. Okay, so if we were to say a hydronymic toponym, if we were to use that phrase hydronymic toponym, we're simply describing the toponym as being that of a body of water. If I say oronymic toponym, you'll know that I'm talking about a place name, but it's dealing with mountains. Okay. On the right hand side, we have anthroponym. These are names of human beings in general. So this is the general term for names of human beings. But this also gets more specific and narrow as you into subcategories. So here we have ethnonyms, which are names for entire ethnic groups. And then within that naming convention of ethnic groups, you have endonyms, which means that they're self-named or internally named. And then you have exonyms, which means that a foreign group of people named another group of people. We simply say externally named. All right. So ethnonyms can be of two types. So if I say an endonymic ethnonym, I'm saying that here is a name of an ethnic group that they named themselves. If I say exonymic ethnonym, I'm saying that here's a name of an ethnic group who were named by a foreign group of people, somebody not of the group. All right, so hopefully everyone can understand how that works in the terminology. All right, and all of these deal with human beings, therefore they're all types of anthroponyms. All right, now over here on by itself is eponym. Now an eponym or an eponym is a person, place, or thing after whom or after which something is named. So now the reason why this eponym is down here by itself is because eponyms are freelance mercenaries, if you will, for lack of a better word. And by that I mean that any one of these as far as a toponym, a hydronym, or oronym, an ethnonym, can be named after a person. All right. So, for example, let me get to the examples in a second. So, an eponym is simply a name that's derived from a person. Okay, so like I said, a toponym can come from the name of a person. Hydronym, oronym, as well as ethnonyms. Okay, so this is why this is referred to as a freelance. So this can be any of these. So, for example, an eponymic toponym is simply a place name that is named after a person. Regardless if it's named after a person or not, it is still referring to a place and not the person. And I'm going to show some examples. Lastly, we have demonym. Now, demonym is a name of a people that's derived from the name of a place or the place of residence of the people. All right. So a demonym in essence is a toponymic ethnonym. And I hope I'm not confusing. So, but instead of saying it this way, toponymic ethnonym, there's a word for it. We simply say demonym. And by toponymic ethnonym, it means that the ethnonym is derived from a place. And so, but this is what it's called, demonym. names of people that are derived from the name of the place of residence. All right. So a demonym is a toponymic ethnonym. So those can be interchanged if you were to word it that way. All right. So let's summarize, and hopefully this will make it clear. And again, the reason, I just want to reiterate, the reason why I'm going through this is to summarize the conversations that have been going on. And again, there's been this ongoing notion and claim that culminates into several debates periodically that the word Kemet, used to name the ancient kingdom that we know in the Nile Valley, that word means black people. And it does not mean black people. Okay? There's problems with that hypothesis. And so I'm discussing here one of the problems with that hypothesis. There are many, but this is just one. And the one problem is the issue of toponym. The word Kemet being a toponym. There's no way of getting around it. And this is actually the first of the problem that no one can get around. And this is the problem that really ends the discussion. Okay, as I'm going to summarize here. So let's summarize. So toponyms. Toponyms are place names. The referent of a toponym is a place and never people. In other words, toponyms refer to places and not people. And remember, Kemet is a toponym. This word here, Kemet, it is a toponym. And by definition, toponyms are place names. The referent of a toponym is a place and never people. In other words, toponyms refer to places and not people. I could stop here by this alone, and this would dictate the fact that the word Kemet cannot mean black people, because toponyms, which is what the word Kemet is, refers to a place and not people. All right, but to continue, ethnonyms are names of people. The referent of an ethnonym is a group of people, never a place. In other words, ethnonyms refer to groups of people and not places. Now, people may get confused. Now, this is where the confusion comes into place, because if we were to stop here, this is pretty straightforward. It's very easy. Toponyms are places and ethnonyms deal with people. That's pretty straightforward. But now where the confusion comes in is when it comes to place names that are named after people. But these are called eponyms. Eponyms do not have a referent on their own, as I explained when I showed this diagram here. Eponyms they don't have a referent on their own. Eponyms have to be connected to one of these other things. So, eponyms do not have a referent on their own. A place named after a person is called an eponymic toponym. And as an example, we have the Philippines. Everyone knows about the Philippines on the map. If you were to look at the map of the world map of the globe, you'll hear of a country called the Philippines. Now, the Philippines is a place. Why? You can point to it on the map. You can buy a plane ticket and travel to the Philippines. You can take a vacation where? To the Philippines. The Philippines is a place. Thus, it is a toponym. But this toponym happens to be named after a person. So it is referred to as an eponymic toponym. All right, and this is what I said earlier, an eponymic toponym. So as an example, the Philippines. So Philippines are named after Philip II of Spain. So here we have a person who this location or place was named after. But if you were to travel to the Philippines, you're not expected to see Philip II of Spain. This word is not describing the man. it is referring to or describing the place. Hence, or thus, toponym, a place name. All right, but this is a specific type of toponym called an eponymic toponym. Okay, and it refers to a place and not people. To continue, a people, that was a place, a people named after a person is called an eponymic ethnonym. An example of that is Israelites. Okay, Israelites are the people, and they're named after Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. So here is a person, be it real person or fictitious, it doesn't matter if it's a real person or a fictitious person, etc., etc. So don't get entangled with that issue or not. But the name Jacob, or the person or character in the Bible named Jacob, his name was changed to Israel. And then the people who descended from him were called Israelites. And so this name, this designation, would be referred to as an eponymic ethnonym. Okay? Because it's named after a person. So it refers to a group of people and not a place. Now, a body of water that may be named after a person is referred to as an eponymic hydronym. All right. So again, notice that eponyms don't have a referent on their own. They have to be attached to something. So notice that I'm saying eponymic something, eponymic something, eponymic something. So eponymic hydronym. An example of that is Lake Victoria. Here's a body of water, a lake, named Lake Victoria. It's a place. You can actually go to this place. Okay? And it's named after Queen Victoria. So therefore it is an eponymic hydronym. Another example, a mountain that may be named after a person is called an eponymic oronym. An example of that is Mount Everest. A lot of people should be familiar with Mount Everest. It's named after Sir George Everest. When you go to Mount Everest, which is a location, you can actually get in a plane and fly and travel and even climb Mount Everest. You're not climbing Sir George Everest, the person. You're climbing a mountain. But it's named after a person. And when you go to this mountain, you're not expected to see Sir George Everest. You're expected to see a mountain. Okay, so eponymic oronym. So as you can see, although these places, all of these are places, although these places may be named after a person, the referent is a place and never a person or people. Okay? Let's continue. Now, when it comes to Egypt, we have the following. So we have the ethnonym of the Egyptians. What did they call themselves? They called themselves the Remich. Now, remember, if I go back to this diagram, we have ethnonyms of two types. Those that are self-named and those that are externally named. The Remich would therefore be an endonymic ethnonym. This is what they called themselves. Now, when we say Egyptians, that would be an exonymic ethnonym, because that's not what they call themselves. They never refer to themselves as Egyptians. That's something that we in modern times do. All right, so I hope you all see the difference. Exonymic ethnonym would be Egyptians, but an endonymic ethnonym would be the Remich. So we prefer to call them what they call themselves, which is the Remich. But nevertheless, it's an ethnonym. Okay? And Kemet is the toponym. Kemet, the ancient Egyptians, or the Remich, called their place, territory, or kingdom Kemet. They called themselves, the people, Remich, and they called their location or place Kemet. All right. So hopefully this is clarifying this, and you can start to see how problematic it is for anyone to claim that the word Kemet is describing people, black people, or mean black people. It goes against the very definition of what a toponym is. And the ancient Remish themselves did not call themselves, the people, Kemet. They called themselves Remish. They called their place, they called their home, they called their territory Kemet. Place. So to continue, now here's another little bit of something that adds to the confusion on top of what I just mentioned. So when it comes to nationhood, it is the connection of the people with a geographical territory. This is expressed as the toponym with an additional suffix to denote a relational adjective. So, for example, we have Saudi Arabia. Now we know Saudi Arabia is a place name. It's a place, it's a country. Saudi Arabia. If we add the suffix, which is this adjectival suffix that shows relationship, we would say Arabian. You have Arabia, and then a person from Arabia would be Arabian, one who is from or belongs to the toponym. The toponym being Arabia, or more fuller, Saudi Arabia. That's the toponym. And then we add a suffix to that toponym to denote people or a person, one who belongs to or is from the toponym of Arabia. So Arabian would be a person from Arabia. And these are called demonyms. Again, remember when I put on the chart here, demonyms are what? They're names of people after the toponym, after the place, after the residence. Okay? So to give another example of that, of a demonym, we have America. America is a location. America is a place. America is a toponym. But the people are called Americans. That's referred to as a demonym, where the people are so named after the place. Demonym. Okay, and it only shows a relationship in terms of you belonging to that place. So Americans belong to America. Arabians belong to Arabia. Indians belong to India. Europeans belong to Europe. Russians belong to Russia. So I hope you all get the pattern here. Russia is a toponym, it's a place. Russian is one who belongs to that place. So now how does that bear out in the ancient Egyptian language? So when it comes to Kemet, we have the toponym Kemet, which is the place. But then in the language we add a Y, which is a relational adjectival suffix, and it makes the word Kemeti. And Kemeti would mean one who is from or belongs to the toponym of Kemet. So it's one who is of Kemet or belongs to Kemet. So a Kemeti would be a person who belongs to Kemet or is from Kemet. All right. Now the plural would be Kemetiyu. This is the singular, Kemeti, a person, singular. Kemetiyu would be plural, a group of people, those from or belonging to Kemet. And here I show how we would transliterate this, Kemeti, singular, and Kemetiyu, plural, which means those who belong to Kemet. All right, so it's showing a connection of people to a land or geographical area. And this is a national phenomenon. This is to show nationality. Hence why I say nationhood. All right. So now there should be no debate whether or not the toponym Kemet speaks about people or place. Again, toponyms refer to places, not people. The very fact that it is a toponym and not an ethnonym ends the discussion. So again, remember what I said. For all or anybody who tries to advance the hypothesis that the word Kemet means black people, There are several problems with that. I'm here only dealing with one, and this is a major problem that those people who advance that claim cannot get around, to where we don't even have to address the other problems. But the other problems are worth addressing because there's a lot of information to benefit and learn from the other problems. But this particular problem, no one can get around the fact that Kemet is a designation, a referent to, or a description of a place and not people. And remember what I said about eponymic toponyms. Even if a place is named after a person, it is still a place and not the person. It doesn't describe the person. It describes the place, even if it uses a person's name. So that has to be made very clear. Okay, so Kemet is a place name, not a people name. And I can't stress that enough. That alone ends the conversation. It ends the discussion. It ends the back and forth debating on whether or not Kemet means black people. It's a place. All right. So now, just to quickly show this nationhood part of the personification of a nation, where the people and the toponym are combined to speak about nation. Here's an example of how this would look in the language. We have Kemet, and then we have the man and woman determinative with the plural strokes. All right. And so what this means is that this is the word Kemet, but this means a nation of Kemet, the nation of Kemet, or the nation of the fertile country. Because remember, toponyms are inspired by the geography of the place, of the location. Remember where I showed this here. The geography. We have the hilly, infertile areas called Desheret. We have the flat, moist areas, the fertile areas, the areas that have access to water, the areas that have access to irrigation channels, etc., etc. The inhabitable areas of the land is called Kemet. All right. So the nation, and this is our definition of nation today, and it fits perfectly. What is a nation? A people or an aggregation of men and women existing in the form of an organized jural society, inhabiting a distinct portion of the earth, speaking the same language, using the same customs, possessing the historic continuity, and distinguished from other like groups by their racial origin and characteristics, and generally but not necessarily living under the same government and sovereignty. Nation. All right. And we have to understand this in context. Kemet, as a nation, was not called Kemet until the 11th dynasty. So the people, the Remesh themselves, it wasn't until the 11th dynasty that they started to call their country or kingdom by the name Kemet. Prior to that, the country was called Tawi. It was called Khenu, and the word Khenu simply means the residence or the interior. And they came up with that name because of the consequence of traveling and taking expeditions. Whereas groups of men would leave the interior, go on the outskirts and mine for different valuable resources. Whether it's minerals, whether it's rocks or a different stone, different medicinal items, what have you. They would leave the interior and go out and scout and go on expeditions, and they would return home, or they would return to the interior, and they called that in their language Khenu. And so Kemet was known as Khenu, the home, the residence. That's one name, and it was also called Tawi, which is a dual, two lands, but it was the two extremes. This is all prior to the kingdom being called Kemet. It was not called Kemet until the 11th dynasty. So the nationhood under the name Kemet did not manifest itself until the 11th dynasty. Okay, so here is a passage, just to close out. Here's a passage of where that particular rendition of Kemet with the people determinative here in the plural strokes is actually used in context. So here's an actual citation from a text. This is from the 4th hymn of Senwesoret III. Okay, and it reads, this is the transliteration here at the top, and this is a translation at the bottom. Now, this particular example is taken from Ogden Golay's work called Kemet and the Names of Their Land and Territory. And I don't have that here on the screen, but that's where this particular screen shot is coming from. But what this is actually from the 4th hymn of Senwesoret III. All right, just to make the add clarity to that. So it reads, it was after he had ruled the people of Egypt, and he said he has literally the black land, and after he had put the red land in his company that he came to us. It was after he had protected the two lands, and after he had pacified the two banks that he came to us. It was after he had caused the people of Egypt to live, and after he had removed its needs that he came to us. So what is this saying? This is showing the personification of nationhood, because it says it was after he had ruled. We have Heka in F. He had ruled, past tense. Heka means to rule. And then in F, Heka in would be past tense, ruled in the past. F would be he. He ruled. And then we have Kemet. Okay. And then we have, and he had put the red land in his company. Red land, we have Desheret here. Again, remember I showed this here, Desheret. Kemet and Desheret. So we have Desheret here. In his company that he came to us. It was after he had protected what? The two lands. Here we have Tawi. Tawi is the two lands that I spoke of earlier. So notice that all of these are places, locations. Tawi, these are toponyms. These are references to land. So we have Tawi, the two lands. And after he had pacified the two banks is Idebwi, this word here, Idebwi. These are the two banks. Prior to ancient Egypt being called Kemet, it was also called Idebwi because of the Nile, the two banks of the Nile. We had the east and west. It was called Idebwi as well. All right. So pacified the two banks that he came to us. It was after he had caused the people of Kemet, and here it is again, to live, and had removed its needs. Now notice that it says its needs. It doesn't say their needs. Strictly referring to people, it refers to an entity, a personified entity called Kemet, which is the nation, its needs. Same thing if I say, the president is removing, in reference to America, is removing its needs. You understand? So its is referring to the nation that he came to us, etc. So I hope this is clear. And just to end this, I just want to reiterate that one, the idea that Kemet means black people has problems, several problems. I'm only dealing with one in terms of just on the strength of the word Kemet being a toponym. That alone excludes it from referencing people. That alone ends the conversation, as I said. It ends the conversation. Okay? It excludes it from possibly being referring to people. Place names do not refer to people, they refer to places. But just to let everyone know, the other problem is, and this is worth speaking of, the other problem is that the word Kemet, the KM in the word Kemet, it's assumed, it has always been assumed by scholars, not just Shekant Diop. All scholars have assumed that the KM in Kemet is the same KM in the word black. So we have an adjective black that's share these glyphs, and we would transliterate it as Kem. Okay? But no scholar has demonstrated that the Kem in Kemet is the same Kem as the Kem in black. Now, that may seem trivial, or it may even be confusing of the reasons why I say that. And let me demonstrate why I say that. So let me show an example here. I'm going to use another word, and I'm going to show an example of what I mean. So here is a set of words. All right. Notice that all of these words are spelled almost identically. The only difference is the last glyph. And remember what that last glyph is that I mentioned. It is a determinative. So if we were to remove these determinatives here, the last glyph, all of these words would look alike. They would look alike. We would transliterate them exactly alike, and we would pronounce them today. We would pronounce them all alike. But what's interesting is that these are different words. For example, the first word ab means to stop, to cease, to linger, to pause. The next word ab would be to be amused. Now look at these two. These two words look alike, transliterated alike, and would sound alike, but they're two totally different meanings. This first one is to be amused. This next one is to desire, to wish for, to long for, to love. Both of them being transliterated as abi. We have this ab, which means to go astray, to tarry. We have this ab, which is a panther, an animal. We have this ab, which deals with ivory from an elephant. We have this ab, which means to burn, to brand something. Okay? So now, if I were to take these two glyphs off, use these two glyphs and put people determinatives after it, as you see here, these two examples above, whether I write it this way or whether I write it this way with the plural strokes under the two figures or behind the two figures, these are the same words. But so let's just say I take these two glyphs and put them with these people determinatives. The question, and the main question, and it's the heart of the problem, how would you know which of these meanings is the root of this word? The answer is very simple. You would not know. You don't know. Do we just choose anyone we like? Do I say that these are the amused people or the amusers? Do I say these are the loved people or the desirable people or those who desire? Are these the panther people? Do I choose this one? Are these the panther people? Or are these people panthers? Are they human panthers? Are these the elephant people? Are these the ivory people? Are these people who harvest and deal with ivory, or do they raise elephants? You would not know. And so this is one of the other problems outside of the issue of toponymy. This is the other issue, that all of these scholars simply assumed that the Kem in Kemet is the one for black and not the other meanings of Kem. And so briefly, let me show the examples using Kemet. All right, so I'm going to show it using Kemet. Give me 1 second here while I switch it up. And I hope you all follow along. I can't see the comments at this moment, but I will check out the comments. And my whole thing is to make sure that this is clear and understood. So on the screen now, I have what that word that I was showing actually means. So remember, I showed these two words, and I asked the question, which one do we choose? Do we choose panther for panther people? Do we choose ivory for ivory people who deal with elephants, etc.? Are these the lovable people, etc.? You wouldn't know. But this word happens to mean family. The word is abet, and it means family. That's what it means. But you wouldn't know that, or you wouldn't know which one of these to choose from. So now we deal with Kemet. So we have these two glyphs. We have the crocodile tail and we have the owl here. Now, mind you, I'm going into, this is the second problem. This is outside of the toponymy problem. Okay, I'm just giving an example of the other problem that's worth mentioning and discussing, but we don't even have to deal with that because the argument ends at toponymy. The fact that the word Kemet is a toponym excludes it from being used, or for the notion or people to even think is being used to describe or refer to people. Toponyms point to or refer to or describe places and not people. But anyway, this is worth discussing. So we have the crocodile tail and we have the owl. And together they, without going into the details, this spells Kem. This glyph alone is a bilateral for the KM consonants. The owl serves as what's called a phonetic complement, the M inside of KM. So we don't pronounce or transliterate this as KMM. The owl here is just simply to signify that the second consonant in this glyph is an M. Kem. And these two glyphs is what's used to spell out Kemet. So as I show here, so here are different meanings, and I chose these. There's a lot more, but I only chose these because these are limited to these two glyphs and then a third determinative, a third one. So we have Kem meaning black, we have Kem meaning to be black, we have Kem meaning complete, we have Kem meaning to total up, we have Kem meaning twinkling. And here it is without the owl. All of these look alike. Notice that all of these spellings look alike, transliterated alike. They were pronounced alike. We will all say Kem, 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 Kem. But they have different meanings. The first one means black. The next one means complete. The next one means total up. The next one means credit or profit. In some kind of commercial transaction, the word Kem is used when exchanging and bartering and trading. Okay? Which connects to total up, etc. The completion of work, Kem. The color itself, black. Likewise. So I hope you all understand. So likewise, in this particular instance, how would you know which one of these serves as the root of this? So that's why the second problem that people have is to get over that assumption. No one has demonstrated why we are to choose this one, which is black, over the others. Now, mind you, there are many more. I only show these because one, for time, and then two, because these are very, very short. They only have 3 glyphs in them. There are many words that have this KM consonant sequence that make use of this crocodile tail. Okay? So I just want to drive the point home. But what this word actually means, as I've shown already, it means Kemet, the nation of the fertile country. The Kem in this particular word is dealing with the country. And it is inspired by, as I explained previously, when I read from the African Journal, how toponyms are named by African people. Whether, it's sedentary, nomadic, whether it's water around, so on and so forth. Okay? So this particular word is not talking about the people or referencing the people. It's talking about the land. And this particularly is the manifestation or the personification of the nation. And a nation is a combination of the toponym and the people who reside there. American. I say American, you already know that you're dealing with a person who is of or belongs to America. That is their nationality. What is your nationality? The United States of America, or as we say, American. If you were born and raised and a citizen of Brazil, what is your nationality? Brazilian. Brazilian. If I say John is a Brazilian, you automatically know that John belongs to or is from Brazil, a place. All right. So I don't want to drag this out here any further. And hopefully that was clear. You know, the purpose again is to add clarity to the discussion, because the discussion has been going everywhere. You know, you'll see a lot of information being shown that really convolutes the issue. And what it does, it allows people to skate around these problems that I'm mentioning. I've only mentioned two. I mentioned two, but I discussed one. The one I discussed is the issue of toponyms. There's no way of getting around that. Okay, the toponyms. That ends the discussion. There's nothing further to discuss after that, at all. Okay, we have to keep that in mind. There's nothing left, and the reason why, and it's not a statement of coming from a place of trying to shut the argument down or whatever the case is. It just happens to be scientifically sound that toponyms, by nature, by definition, by reality, refer to and describe places, not people. Therefore, Kemet being a toponym is excluded from being a reference to people. That's as simple as I can put it. And this is something, as simple as that is, it is something that is overlooked. Why is it overlooked? That may be up for grabs. Some people may do it intentionally. Others may do it ignorantly and not know it. And that's what I'm dealing with, the people who may not know. And hopefully this will educate people to realize that Kemet is a toponym, has always been a toponym. Even before the name of the country was called Kemet, they had towns and cities called Kemet in the Delta area. As a matter of fact, this area here, there were Kemets in this area because it was land that had access to water. All right, so we just have to remember that. So I'm going to take a quick moment just to see if there are any comments on here on this video. I don't want to make it long, but I'm doing this for the YouTube family on our Sesh Netcher channel as a place where this video can be archived and be referenced, and the link can be passed around for those when this topic comes back up. Listen, if anybody is pushing and debating that Kemet means black people, show them this link and you ask them. All you have to do is say the word toponymy or toponym. That's it. They can say anything they want to say. They can talk for as long as they want to talk. They can show all that they want to show, whether it's relevant or irrelevant. If they would just want to share with you their knowledge or what they're learning and so on and so forth, that's fine. But when they stop, just simply say Kemet is a toponym. That's it. Toponyms refer to and describe places, not people. Even if it's named after a person, it is referring to a place. And I'll give another example of that. Another example would be We're all familiar with this. Pretty much all major cities in the United States have a street named after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. There's also a street, mostly in most cities, named after Malcolm X. Now, the street is not Martin Luther King Jr. or Malcolm X. It's named after them. But the street is found on a map. It's a location. Here's another example that was given. Now, this was typed out by the brother Asar Imhotep, who happens to be from Houston, Texas. And so he gives an example as well. And I'm just going to read it. He says, I'm from Houston, Texas. The city of Houston is named after Sam Houston, who was a soldier and politician during the American Revolutionary War. It would be erroneous, for example, to argue that everyone who lives in Houston are white because Sam Houston was a white man, or that everyone in the city of Houston are somehow Sam Houston. The location was named after Sam Houston. It does not describe Sam Houston or the people in any way. And so he was using that example to back up my statement where I said that if anybody says that a toponym describes people, has lost their mind. And I said description, that toponym is a description for people. It doesn't. Okay, even another example, quick example. The Kennedy Space Center. A lot of people may have heard that. It's Kennedy Space Center. It doesn't describe Kennedy. It describes the building. It's referring to and describing and pointing to the building, not the man. It's only named after the man. Okay, so we have to remember that. We have to remember that. And this diagram should help. So, you can take a snapshot of this diagram of, to help you remember the things that I've been saying. All right, so this will help you kind of organize the information and summarize it for you. All right. So let me just check out the comments real quick, and then I will end it. So bear with me real quick. So first of all, I want to say Dua and ETM Hotep to all those who are watching. When I started this, I wasn't expecting anyone to really watch in real time. I'm doing this really to archive this video, to have a place where this video can be and be referenced. All right, to kind of summarize all this information, because in the conversations on social media, the conversations get diverted, detracted. You have people who are trolling, and so on and so forth. And to eliminate all of that, I just wanted a clean version of the information and consolidate it in one place. Okay, so remember, what I am addressing is one of several problems with the hypothesis that Kemet means black people. That is a false hypothesis. It's wrong. And the problem I'm addressing is enough to demonstrate its lack of having merit, or it's invalid, to make it invalid. All right. Kemet is a toponym. Once everybody understands that, then it rules out it being a description for people or a reference to people. Toponyms are references to places. That's it. The only way somebody can continue the argument is if they don't believe Kemet is a toponym to begin with. And even that, and that is really the root of why I say lost their mind. Anybody who does that has lost their mind. Because the moment I ask you, where is Kemet? The answer to any where question is a location. If I say, where is Florida? You're going to have to show me a location. Where is Kenya? You're going to show me a location. Where is Egypt? The Arab Republic of Egypt. You're going to show me a location. You could point to it on the map. So anybody who does not think that Kemet is a toponym or a place name has lost their mind, Because that same person, I guarantee you, you show them a world map or a globe. Grab a globe and show them a globe and ask them to point to Kemet. And they're going to point to a place. But yet out of their mouths, they're not going to think Kemet is a place. Only to continue the erroneous argument that Kemet means black people. We don't need that argument. We know that that the Egyptians were black. All right. So anyway, I want to check out the comments. ETM Hotep to everyone. Omega Sunlight. This is very comprehensive. Give me 1 second. All right, I apologize for that delay. So to pick up where I left off, we have Omega Sunlight. This is very comprehensive, not for the immature. Exactly, because when we're trying to educate our community, we have a lot to learn. We have a lot to learn, and we gotta end the immature things, and there's a lot of that goes on, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, to kind of create a clean a clean place where somebody can actually watch the video and follow along and understand. And it's okay if people disagree, even with what I'm saying, but they will have to demonstrate why they're disagreeing. They will have to demonstrate that, and this is something that nobody can get around. You cannot get around what place names are. They refer to places. That's why they call toponym, places. All right. So let's keep going. Omega Sunlight. People act like they want information, but here's a great lesson for greater understanding, and these scholars nowhere to be found. Interesting. That's true. Let's keep going. Okay, so Omega Sunlight says, so the Kemet Ta reference is erroneous. Yes, it is. Kemet Ta, there is no Kemet Ta. And the Kemet Nu, let me just show real quick. The reason why people say Kemet Nu is because this glyph right here, on its own, it's the word Niut. Okay, hopefully you all can see my cursor here. This particular glyph is on its own represents the word Newt, and the word Newt means a settled area, a village, a town. Okay, and what this represents, it represents where water is collected. These are crisscrossing channels. Okay, and it was at these deposits of water where people became sedentary and they settled. And so it became, through time, it became the glyph to denote cities or villages or areas of municipality where people can live and dwell. Okay, this is pronounced Newt. And so what some people will do, they'll say Kemet Nu, and don't say the other T, they'll say Kemet Nu. And so that's where that comes from. So it's not, so I shouldn't say it's erroneous, like it's not something that's completely out the ballpark, but I'm just explaining where that comes from. But this is a determinative, it's not pronounced. So it is incorrect to say Kemet Nu, but at the same time, if somebody were to say that, it's not something that throws things off or anything of that nature. All right, this is a determinative to show that this is talking about a place. Because if that's the case, I would have to say Desheret Nu. And let me go back to this thing. So that means for all of the, now this is what you should do, Omega Sunlight. Anybody who says Kemet Nu, show them these words here and ask them to pronounce these. because based on the same logic, they would have to say Jedutnu, Basnu, Depnu, Jedunu, Iyunu nu, Minnefer nu, Chemnu nu, Abju nu, Abu nu. See, they would have to be consistent. And I guarantee you that if you showed them this and they would pronounce it, they would not do the same thing. So a lot of people just do things because that's how they received it. And remember, I'm gonna go back to what Diop said, whether it's him or not, but this is very important. This is very, very, very important. He says, it bothers me when someone takes me on my word without developing a means to verify what I say. And so that's what we do. The upcoming scholars of this generation, it is upon in our laps to take what our esteemed and beloved ancestral scholars have done and to advance the work. It would be a disservice to them and disrespectful to them to stay stagnant and just to agree for the sake of agreeing, because people feel loyalty. They have a misappropriation of loyalty. They think that agreeing with an elder scholar is being loyal. No, being loyal is to the information and what the scholar was doing. We're all human beings. We all put on our pants one leg at a time. We all take showers. We all eat. We all digest, assimilate, eliminate food. And we can all make mistakes. We can't get into personality worship, and we can't violate appealing to authority. We respect our elders by continuing their work and doing what they were doing, and even better. Isn't that what we want for our kids? For example, our children, any of you all who have children, don't you want your child to do better than you? You don't want your child to do just what you did or worse. You want them to do better. You want them to excel and be better than you. So that's why we call these scholars elders. We're their children. They want us to do better than them. They don't want us to be like them, to end up like them. They want us to be better. Put them in us and be better. So they want to continue to live through us. All right. So anyway, don't want to go off on a tangent too much. All right. So let's keep going. In that Heret, they gonna say you a know-it-all egotistical dude. You taking things from things they felt they needed to validate Kemet. Okay, well, here in 2018, we don't need to lie to people and say Kemet means black people just to prove that the Egyptians were black. We have tons of information. Matter of fact, that's not even argued anymore. Like we argue over such old issues, and I understand why. It's because people don't, a lot of people are just coming into this. They're not familiar with the scholarship on these topics. A lot of this stuff is old. As a matter of fact, the book that this quote comes out of, Ogden Golet's work, it was published in 1999. That's 9 years ago, going on 10. We've had these conversations for a long time, over 4 years, saying all along, Kemet doesn't mean black people. Kemet doesn't mean black people. It doesn't. Well, Sheikh and the Diop said. Dr. Ben said. Dr. Ben said that the origin of the Egyptians is in the mountains of the moon, where the god Happy dwells. He said he got it from the papyrus of Hunefer. When we looked into it, we found out that's not true. Does that make Dr. Ben less of a genius or less of a scholar or less than a man? No. Does this mistake of Sheikh and the Diop make him anything less? No. Only in the minds of insecure people who have an emotional tie that clouds their judgment of the purpose of scholarship and the pursuit of knowledge in the first place. We're not in the pursuit of worshiping people. We're in the pursuit of accurate information to paint a picture of reality where we can actually gain agency once again and control our what? Our destiny. We can't operate in illusions. We have to operate with what's real. Let me keep going. So she's simply unique. Toponym will be one of the next week's vocabulary words. Okay. They're going to ask, what is the etymology of toponym? Right. The etymology of toponym, I showed it on the screen, so I'm not sure if you all saw it. The etymology, and of course you could look it up. It's from the Greek topos and onym, which is place name. All right. So that's pretty simple. This diagram is going to be the full vocabularies for my kids. Okay, great. All right, that's good. See, hopefully that will help you out. I mean, share the information. Chief X, young Pharaoh disagree. Wait a minute, I lost the. Okay, Chief X, young Pharaoh disagrees with y'all. Yeah, I guess so. All right, so I guess that's it. So that's good. I see. This is Omega Sunlight. I see. So Nuit is the determinative. Yes, exactly. Nuit is the determinative. That's exactly right. And you can look this up. Matter of fact, I'm going to show it on the screen one more time. Here, remember, this is now, some people will call this the crossroads determinative. But that's an old way of describing it. Information we have now is that it's not roads. It's actually a crossing or an intersection of waterways. Okay. And so this is Gardner Code 049. When you look it up, you'll see that it's a determinative. And as I'm showing, it determines all of these words. It comes at the end of all these different words. Okay. And this is just a short sample list. There's many, I showed the map. Here are, millions, not millions, many place names with that same determinative. Do we say Busiris Nu, Chasu Nu, etc. All right. So hopefully everyone can benefit from this. I don't see any more questions or anything here. And like I said, I want to keep this as brief as I can. It's not as brief as I would like, but it's brief enough to have all this information in one spot. So share this video. The whole Facebook back and forth thing, everything gets convoluted because you got people who want to divert and just show things that are irrelevant. Like, why would you? This is the thing. The people who are pushing Kemet means black people. They overlook the whole concept that I just went over, toponym, which kills it, which ends the discussion. They have to overlook it because what people who do that intend to do is then go and try to find other African languages where you find the word black. And no one argues against that. Like, we all know that there are words for black in many African languages that are cognate, which means this genetically related to the adjective black in Kemet. So for example, this word black in Kemet, yes, you can find this word, which means its meaning and its form, even though the form may shift a bit, but the meaning of blackness or black, yes, we could find it in several different African words across the continent. But that does not justify or demonstrate or validate whether Kemet means black people. Again, when you are confronted with that and people, anybody that pushes that, let them say what they say and calmly say toponym and walk away. That's it. Kemet means black people. Black is, I can find it in different language, African language, 14 different languages, 20 different languages. Matter of fact, 1,000, all the languages on the continent of Africa. Matter of fact, all around the world, blah, 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 blah. You let them say what they're going to say, and then you simply say, Kemet is a toponym. Toponyms are place names. Place names refer to places, not people. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Just that simple. And with that, I will say Shem Hotep. Again, dua for tuning in and bearing with me. I tried to make this as brief as I could, but I wanted to at least get all of this in one video. Check out our other video. Like I said, I showed it on the screen before. We have another video where we talk about these things, but I go a little bit more into adjectives. 2 years ago, I went into how adjectives are used briefly as well. So that's another part of it. But go check out the video, subscribe to this video, and any of the videos you watch, if you like it, thumb it up. Thumb up the videos. All right. And until next time, I will see you all here. And I'm gonna do more of these videos, and I'm gonna post some of the videos on my personal channel. I don't have any videos on my personal channel on YouTube, but I need a place to archive some other videos that may not fall under the group as the Sesh Medew Netcher. These are other things that, expressions that I'm issues that I may express. So also subscribe to my channel. I don't have anything there now, so it's an empty house, but subscribe to the channel. It's my same name, Wujao. All right, subscribe to that channel, and then when I post things, you'll be notified of that. All right, and I appreciate it again. I'm gonna say dua. I want to say Shem Hotep and Mashidu Nafir for those in the same time zone as me. Good Nafir for those who are on the other side of the world. Even Becca Nafir in the morning. So till then, I'll see you all. Shem Hotep.